Hello everyone, well it's finally warm in the UK for a couple of days, which is nice, and I'm once again sat in the little cupboard recording a sales video. Firstly, congratulations to the winner of the free game. Nice one, your name's on the screen right now. Quite a few ones in this episode that I've never spoken about, which is always nice. Savaloy's at the end, but I did want to mention just a couple that are finishing very shortly. You've got Salt and Sanctuary, which is 75% off until April the 14th, which is today. So yeah, if you catch that one in time, then that's a cracking deal. And also Gumbrella from Devolver Digital is 40% off, also ending today. We have reviews of, we've got a review of Gumbrella, so you can check that out. Alright, what else is on sale? Well, my name's Mark Walker. If you enjoy this content, press things. Now, let's find out. First up, we've got the brilliant Metroidvania 9 Years of Shadows. Now, I was chatting to this team on Twitter, and basically this was their first big game, and they bit off way more than they could chew. Now, I'm not saying that in terms of the actual game itself, it's surprisingly good, but they definitely did struggle with the Nintendo Switch version in terms of things like performance, but I still really enjoyed it. It's got a slightly unusual story that kind of centers and focuses on the theatrical. There's almost like this amphitheater that's like a hub central area, but you have to use different elemental abilities to help you traverse, things like lightning, water, earth and fire, and that musicality is actually intrinsic to the gameplay. It's a difficult one to kind of explain without a full review. I was planning at the time of launch to do one, but then so many other games came out at the same time and unfortunately we just didn't get a chance. I think I might actually go back to this one for an interesting games episode at some point, but yeah, it's 30% off here in the UK until April the 30th. A big thanks to Factor 75. They've sponsored us a few times now, and by all accounts people are really enjoying their products. They're essentially a meal delivery service that allows you to take the stress and hassle out of getting healthy meals sent directly to your door. It takes the guesswork out of what you're going to have for breakfast, lunch or dinner, which definitely is an issue for me, and also caters for keto, low calorie, vegan and vegetarian lifestyles if those are your preference.
Yeah, as well as those meal preferences that Mark just mentioned, you have more than 27 meal options each week, with meal plans ranging from 4 to 18 meals a week, and you can add or reduce the number depending on your specific needs.
For me personally, I think the biggest factor is the health and wellness side, so the fitness and wellness. Now, for the last 6 months, I don't think I've been particularly healthy, and now I'm looking to get back into really taking care of the way that I eat. Really paying attention to the way that I eat and what goes in. Really paying attention to the healthier aspects of eating and diet. And the Factor basically makes it much easier to achieve those daily food goals with nutritious choices that are actually tailored by a dietitian.
You can get 50% off of your first Factor box and free wellness shots for life using the link down below. That means you can choose 2 free wellness shots from 3 available flavours for every order while you are an active subscriber. You can click the link I just mentioned, or you can scan the QR code with your phone that's been on the screen as we speak.
Once again, a massive thanks to Factor 75 for sponsoring this episode. Do go check them out and support SwitchUp. Both the Ni no Kuni games are on sale at the moment, also in the EU. Ni no Kuni 2 is 84% off, which I believe is the cheapest it's ever been. That's until April the 25th. And yeah, just £8. It's well worth that for what you're getting here. It also comes with expansions that add to the main gameplay, with loads of new content. And if you're a JRPG fan and haven't tried this out for whatever reason, then do consider it. It has quite a cool mechanic where you have to build up like a hometown area. The sale for that, which is the Prince's Edition, goes on until April the 25th. Dreamscaper is a roguelite that you might not have heard of. Most of the game is set within a nightmare, but then it has a hub world when you're awake that's a bit more like, more like Persona-esque. Like there's a bit where you can go into like a bar and stuff, and then it has story beats in those moments. I thought it was quite a cool idea. Some of it's a little bit janky, like some of the movement around the hub area is a bit janky, and then it's a bit juxtaposed to the fact that the action is actually so fast when you're in the roguelite sections. But it intrigued me, and we do have a full review of that if you want to go check out the game. It's been a long time since I played it, but I did really enjoy it back in the day. Now, the only thing that slightly irks me, and it's not lost on me, is the fact that this year they bumped their price. Now, the skeptic in me says, have they bumped their base price so that when they do these sales, they're even better deals? I don't know. I'd say probably yes. Still, at just over a £5, yeah, it is worth it until April the 30th. Now you might be in time to pick up the free trial of Eiyuden, this is an impossible game to say, Eiyuden Chronicles Rising. Now it's the prequel to 100 Heroes, which comes out very shortly, which I may or may not have already played through and wouldn't be able to say if I had, because it would definitely be embargoed. But the prequel here is 70% off until April the 27th. I did the review of this one on the channel and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now what it essentially does is introduce you to the characters. You've got a flipping kangaroo who's basically got the Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII, and it does that mixed kind of RPG action game thing that you remember Sakuna Rise of Ruin? Very similar to that, where you have kind of like the downtime and then you have the fast-paced real-time action sequences. I liked it. I really enjoyed it actually. The ending was a little, well, it's clearly leading you into 100 Heroes, which comes out very shortly. So yeah, see if you can get the free trial. If not, then I think at this price it's worth picking up the game. It's definitely the cheapest it's ever been. It's down to £3.89 and it takes about 15 to 20 hours to finish. Yeah, the sequel actually comes out on the 24th of April, so not long at all. Spelunky 1 and 2 came out a while back, but they're finally getting some decent discounts. Spelunky 2 down half price to £8.99. What's very cool about these is you can actually play through them with a friend in local co-op. Now Spelunky 2 is set on the moon, you're searching for different treasure as well as some missing family members. It does also have online multiplayer, so you can go spelunking with pals online if you want to. But I have to admit, I do prefer local co-op. There's something about sitting in the same room with someone. It's Friday today when I'm recording, so we'll definitely be playing some more Colt Canyon later on. That game is just, ooh, so good. Now Spelunky 2, that sale goes on until April the 24th. Klonoa Phantasy Reverie series, that matches its cheapest ever price, down 80% to £8.99. Obviously Klonoa was originally released back in '97 and this marks, I think, like, I want to say the 25th anniversary or something like that this was out for, which makes me feel just upsettingly old. But they're really fun action adventures with that side-scrolling action, platforming sections, and they hold up really nicely. I mean, we've had so many platformers, haven't we, over the years, and so many of them are just absolute pony. This one though holds up, it's well worth that. I had a couple of little performance dips and things, but overall I think it's decent. It also does have 1 or 2 player modes, so if you want to be joined by a friend you can do that. And as I say, that sale goes on until April the 25th. I'm having a boomer shooter renaissance at the moment. I'm playing through a lot of my favourites as a child. I'm playing through in co-op with my kids and they're absolutely loving it. They're just great games. And CHASM The Rift is another one that came to the Nintendo Switch and now sees its lowest ever price, 65% off, down to £6.29. Another one from '97, it's actually Ukrainian developed, which I didn't realise. But you kind of know what you're getting if you've played any boomer shooter, as they've come to be known. Silly name that. It's the monsters in this one that kind of set it apart. They are pretty grim, pretty hideous creatures. And then along with some nice sound design, it means it's a little more unnerving than your Duke Nukems. The sale for that one goes on until April the 29th. The kids pick this week then, and I've also enjoyed this one a little. It's Cattails Wildwood Story, or Cattails is probably how I should have said it. You're basically running like a cat colony. The majority of my playtime hasn't actually been mine, it's my daughter. She's been playing this to death. I think she's completely maxed it out in every way. Do you remember that when you were a kid? And you could really, like, 100% games. I'm so envious, because I'm like, oh, what are you playing? She'd be like, oh, Pokemon. I'm just getting the last few. I'm like, you having a laugh? Come on now. But yeah, she highly recommends this one, so that's why it's the kids' pick. It combines the feeling of like an RPG, but has those almost sim-life aspects where you're essentially raising that colony, capturing different territories. And there are a couple of times where she bought me the Switch and was like, I'm completely stuck. And there was almost like Zelda dungeons with lateral thinking puzzles and stuff in them. It just looked quality. So yeah, I think for this price at the moment, £11.38, is the cheapest it's ever been until April the 24th. I feel like I have to talk about it because I mentioned it before and I've just seen it's on sale. It's Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, which is half price, another that's matching its cheapest ever price, and this is really cool. Now at the moment I am a bit like a mad person because I've discovered these Dorodangos. Have you seen these things? Basically, you get dirt from your garden, you sieve it, add a little water, start to form it into a ball, and then once it's kind of partially dried a little, you just take some of the sieved dirt and you smooth it. And you just keep doing that for hours and hours and hours. And about 15 hours later, you have a really nice, shiny ball that you would never think came from just a load of dirt. Now, my idea is to basically go to different places, take some dirt, and then have these different balls that kind of, reflect the different places I've been to. Yeah, I'm listening to myself now. I do sound like a mad person, but there's something quite cathartic about it. And Sakuna of Rice and Ruin basically plays on the idea of Japanese perfectionism. So the rice mechanic is difficult. It's difficult to plant, it's difficult to sow, and it's difficult to look after your crop and harvest and the yield that you get. And that then feeds into this strange hybrid RPG action game where you go out into different areas to gather up resources. Now, I really like that. There were some people that just did not like the rice side because, I'm not going to say, I don't want to be rude. They didn't like those elements. I don't know if they fully understand that it is based on Japanese perfectionism and it's kind of intentional. But I get it. It's a game, It's supposed to be fun all the time, or maybe it is. But I thought it was an amazing game, and we do have another full review of this one. I think Glen did the review. Now, at the moment at half price, down to $12.49, a cracking game, and one certainly to tick off your list. The hidden gem then, we've got Bendy and the Ink Machine, which is 80% off. That's a really good price. The only thing to note here is that it's only in the US regions. That's $4.99 in Canada and just $3.99 in the US. This is a first-person puzzle horror game, so something quite different. It manages to translate that old school, like rubber hose and art style, but it turns it into this 3D game, and obviously it doesn't carry the animation across, but the actual character designs and things, they're very 1940s, but creepy. Not the longest game in the world, about 7 to 10 hours. But if that one tickles your fancy, that sale goes on until April the 25th. So then we have our Savaloy Selection, the games that are stupidly cheap. So much so that you would not be able to buy your regional, shameful, very unhealthy but cheap dish, such as a UK Savaloy, for any less than this price. First up then, and I mentioned it before, didn't I? Colt Canyon, 80% off. Yes, please. This game's amazing solo or with a friend, and it's a roguelite where you're trying to save a family member. You're moving left and right, you've got lots of different characters that you unlock. You control your aiming with the right stick, and it's brutal. There'll be like blood all over the place. It's an absolute gore fest, but I will say you can turn the claret off if you're going to play with someone younger as your co-op companion, but easily worth it for that price. Game deck, think Blade Runner, but in VR, and you'll be quite close to how this one is, but they released a massive expansion, loads of free content, but still kept the silly cheap price. That's 90% off. Slime Sand, one of the oldest games that I played on Switch, still holds up to this day. Quirky and unique looking platformer. I'm pretty sure was there a sequel of this one? Maybe it wasn't this. There was one that I played that had a sequel and it wasn't as good, but Slime Sand, the Superman edition, is well worth it at 91% off. And then finally, Beautiful Desolation, 95% off from our South African friends. This is your Vetkoek, a nice little CRPG top-down kind of adventure with that isometric viewpoint with a lot of South African cast members. And that's it. I must rush because my kids are having a sleepover with their cousins this weekend. You know what that's like. It's going to be absolute carnage. I'll be watching Fallout. I'm loving it. Oh my goodness. If you haven't caught the Fallout series yet on Amazon Prime or wherever you live, I don't know, different service, catch it. It's really good. If you're a Fallout fan like I am, it just makes me want them to release it on Switch even more. It upsets me that they haven't. I don't know why they wouldn't. Ay caramba. Alright, thanks to all of you that enjoy the content. For all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys. See ya!